Welcome to From the Ground Up Floral Podcast, a podcast for florists and creatives.
Hi, hello, welcome to the From the Ground Up Floral Podcast. Today on the podcast, I have a very special guest. Luann has come on to talk about her software that she has to make stem counting an absolute breeze. So I'm going to go ahead and let Luann introduce herself and her a little bit more about what she does, how it came to be, and the process of creating this.
Hi, Gina. Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here to talk about EveryStem, which is our new software. It's about 6 months old. We just launched it at the end of April. And it is really an amazing new platform that helps floral designers to price their floral designs, order flowers accurately, and minimize waste and maximize profits. So it's great because every designer can track their profitability on every event. And so it really helps you see how much money you're going to be making per design. And it really helps you order accurately so that you don't spend tons of time working on those projects in the background and having less time to deal with your clients and your employees and your marketing and things like that are really important. So
Absolutely.
I'm excited to be here.
I found you, and it was basically like we had talked a little bit, and you showed me the software, and then a avid user of other softwares, and it just wasn't working out. And then I went back to the good old we'll do the pen and paper method,
Yep.
and that just gets a little bit tedious. So this has just really started to streamline my process very well, and it fits into what I do as a business model. So I just really jumped on board. I love how you have it set up. It's very easy to use, like super simple to use. And what made you come up with this software? What was the inspiration for this?
Well, I've been a floral designer for 15 years. I still do a lot of freelance floral design. I'm in Austin, Texas, so I help a lot of the designers here on their projects. And when I owned my own flower shop for 12 years here in Austin, it was called Verbena Floral Design, and it's still in business. I sold it about, now it's getting up to be about 3.5 years ago. I sold it in 2018. But when I owned that flower shop, I had just a lot of different kinds of events that came my way. I had weddings, I had funerals, I had corporate events. We were centrally located in Austin, and we were a retail shop. And so we did pretty much anything that came our way.
You were probably pretty busy with everything.
We were always busy. And when I first bought the business, the previous owner showed me how to do all the recipe building and ordering by hand. And she would literally take a piece of paper and a ruler and draw out these lines and make these grids. And, it worked.
It does. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but man, you can definitely be way more efficient.
Yeah. If you take, hours and hours and hours to do this, especially if you have multiple weddings or multiple events.
That's the problem.
And so my husband is really good at Excel. And so long story short, he built me an Excel spreadsheet that would help me to order my flowers. And it saved a lot of time. But what it didn't do was fix itself. So I was always sending it to him saying, hey, I think I messed up this formula, or, hey, I can't figure out if this is calculating correctly. I think I did something wrong here. So although it worked, it wasn't perfect.
Right.
And over the years, I just kept thinking to myself, wow, other florists and I, people I talked to, friends of mine, we always struggle with the same things.
I know.
It's the repeating of the same issues. And I just thought to myself, someday I'm going to try to do something with this spreadsheet where I could share it.
Mm-hmm.
But it was tough because I couldn't really share it as it was because I would mess it up enough. I couldn't have other florists sending it to my husband saying I messed it up.
A lot of florists are not that tech savvy, and I can manage tech, but I'm not a spreadsheet gal, so I totally understand. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So when 2018 rolled around, I sold my business and I started doing some freelancing, and I started talking to more and more designers that I worked with. I've done some freelancing in Colorado, mostly here in Austin, San Antonio and the hill country areas. And every florist, we would talk about profitability because I'm always just really interested in it. I love the design and the the beauty and the artistry of floral design, but it is a business. And
You're
I've
right. You
always,
can't do all that stuff if you don't have a back end business. Like you really have to make sure you're profitable. And once you're profitable, you can actually do so much more. Like the sky's the limit. When you can charge what you're worth for something and make money, it's super important.
right, exactly. If you want it to be a hobby and you just want to do it for fun, that's great.
Right.
You don't have to worry about the profitability. But when I bought my business, it had employees, it had overhead, I had to pay
Mhm.
rent. I was very young. I was 26 when I bought my business.
Oh,
So
that's really young. Congratulations.
I jumped in at a really young age, and I just felt, totally self-imposed. I mean, I felt the pressure to perform and to make sure it was a
Mhm.
success.
Yeah.
And in a good way, it was a challenge for me, and I knew that every event had to be profitable for me to be successful. And so when I decided to start freelancing, I sold my business. I started talking to other designers a little bit more. They were more open with me because now I didn't own my own shop. I wasn't really a competitor of theirs.
Right.
And they would talk about how they struggled with the time it took to create the pricing, to do the pricing part of proposals, to estimate how much each design was going to cost, and then also to actually order the flowers, how long it takes to kind of add all those numbers up, figure out how much you're going to be left over with, and then the fear of not having enough kind of propelling people to say, oh, I'm just going to order a few extra bunches. I'm just going to order one extra this, then
And
one
then
extra that.
you're full of stuff that doesn't get used. I mean, we've all been there. Like completely honest, we've all been there. And I was actually there quite recently before before the software. And when everything started to get a little hard to buy, you get that little nagging fear, like, am I gonna have enough stuff? Like, are we okay? And and then that ends up like, well, that's another $200 in flowers that I didn't need to spend.
Exactly. And having that extra leftover flower, just plethora of flowers and going, now I feel guilty because I
Hmm.
have all this waste,
No, you feel
you
really,
know,
and it's money
that's
out
a
of your
whole
own
nother
pocket.
part of
You're
it.
literally taking money out of your pocket and throwing it away.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And so I just started, thinking about how could this Excel spreadsheet that I used for so many years actually become something that I could share with other people. And I
Hmm.
spoke with my husband about it and some friends about it. And I decided that I was just going to figure out a way to turn it into a software that could be accessible via the internet, where floral designers could use it easily, and that the formulas and the multiplication, the math, all the flower math parts of it would be kind of behind the scenes,
Hmm.
and that you couldn't really mess them up. You couldn't
Right.
mess up the
Exactly.
cells. You
You click
couldn't
on something and
access the right. So I worked on it for about a year, and then we launched it at the very end of April. And so it's been around for about 5 months now. And so it's really exciting because we've got the membership base growing. People are really learning how to use it. It's very simple and intuitive. And
hmm
many of the designers and other people that I've talked to that use it say it really works the way floral designers think.
it
And
does.
so it's,
Yeah, I really
do
commend
you
you on
feel that way?
that. Yeah, the user interface, I'm kind of, I know these terms, I'm kind of a little bit of a nerd, but like it's very seamless. It's basically, it is. It's like a spreadsheet that you can't screw up. It really
Yep.
is. It's like there's your stuff, but you can't get behind there and mess it up. So that's like it's
Right.
that little block for the people who don't, and
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
exactly what I was looking for because I did the same thing. If I get a spreadsheet, I'm like, oh, I messed up the formula again.
Right. Exactly. And it works so well because there's a lot of really good software out there already. So I know there are other options that exist. But a lot of the designers that I spoke to, who I'm friends with, that I freelance for, use a CRM that works for them. And
Right.
so they've already got the invoicing systems, they've got the proposal systems, they've got kind of all the, client management piece. They have that taken care of. And
Mhm.
they have, a lot of other systems already in place. But what
Right.
they're missing is that recipe piece.
The
How do
rest.
I actually build my orders and price my flowers? Because that is so specific to floral design that it's
Mhm.
not going to be in a general, software package. And so this really is kind of a very niche software that kind of fills that gap
It
that
really
so
does.
many people are missing. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way I use it, I mean, we've talked about this before. I use Dubsado, so it's very much personable. Like it's personalized. You can customize it. That was the word I was looking for. Customizable. So a lawyer could use Dubsado. I can use Dubsado. So it's very customizable in the way that works. But
Right.
on the back end, there's no way to leave notes for myself or to know like when I need to order the flowers and that kind of thing. So having you fill that spot for me has helped a lot because I didn't have that before. So it was like I had a CRM, and of course I've used other floral specific CRMs, and I don't like all those bells and whistles, and a lot of them are customizable. So you end up with this one template that doesn't fit your needs specifically.
Right.
And it's hard to use it for different kinds of events and things like that. And the ordering, like the stem counting and ordering on some of them is just a nightmare. And then you're sending out wrong orders to wholesalers anyways. So it was very limited and I didn't use it. And then you're paying all that money for those included features and not using them. Why not do something that's a little more customizable to you and fill those gaps with software that works properly?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know there are some designers who like that all-in-one kind of package where it's all taken care of,
Yeah.
and that's great. But I noticed for a lot of designers who do want that customizable, CRM like Dubsado that you use, this EveryStem software really fills in that one missing piece
Yep.
that you need. And so we're really focused on that. So you can't create a visual proposal or a mood board in EveryStem. That's not something that we're focused on. That would be something you do in Dubsado or with Canva or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you go do the pricing and the ordering and all the back end stuff in EveryStem. So your customer never really sees what's in
good though. Your
EveryStem.
customer doesn't need to see your back end. It should definitely be a unified front for the pretty picture of Floral. And then you have the stuff you do behind the scenes, like washing buckets and counting stems. Yeah.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the gist of it. And I'd love to show you how it works.
Sure.
And I could share my screen and give you a little bit
Yeah,
of demo
please
if you
share your
want to do that.
screen. This is also going to be an audio version as well. So if we can kind of talk through what's happening for the people that are just
Yeah.
listening, that would be great. There you go. Perfect.
Okay. And you can see that.
Absolutely.
Great. So right now we're in the dashboard of EveryStem, and this is kind of the main screen. There's 4 navigations up at the top, and you've got your dashboard, which is where all the events are. And then we've got our library, which is where all the flowers exist. And so the nice thing about the flower library is you create it yourself.
Yep.
So it is something that you have to populate yourself. But once you create every single flower, you can save them and use them again and again. So the nice thing about it is that because you create it yourself, you put the flowers in that you like to use that work for your business.
Right.
So
You
I've
don't
seen
have
a
just
lot of ones.
list of things.
Yeah,
And I
we
was
have this
actually
list
to
of so
somebody about
many.
that today. They were like, well, what about the pricing change? And I told them that feature of where, you can change it in your event specific, but it stays one price on your library. That's kind
Exactly.
of, I think that's a really great feature, especially now. So like, we'll make sure to cover that when we get to it. But
Yeah,
it's
we can
really
definitely talk about that specifically, especially with the way the flower shortage has caused prices to, go up. So, and sometimes with an event, you might have flowers that you buy, if you do a pop-up every Valentine's Day and you
Right.
want to just have the pricing for that Valentine's Day in one event, you can keep that separate from the pricing that's in this flower library.
That's
So it's
awesome.
nice because you can really kind of segregate the pricing for different holidays, because we all know around Valentine's Day and Mother's Day, things like that, the prices do go up, and you don't want to have to keep changing that every time.
Every single time. And that's actually that's so smart because I do know that a lot of softwares don't do that. So I love that feature. I think that's probably one of the best things that I've seen on here. I mean, it's all really good, but like that's really a great feature and it's very smart to have in there because things change, pricing change, but it doesn't necessarily affect your flower library. Like, average price, flower library price isn't going to change.
Right.
But like you could specific, like Valentine's event, whatever event you're doing, those can go up and down. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. It's really nice because, being a florist for 12 years, owning my own shop, I just really wanted to make sure that I put in the things that I knew floral designers needed.
Mhm.
And I knew that being able to adjust pricing per event and then having the pricing stay historically accurate is really nice too. Because if I want to look 3 years from now back at an event I did 3 years ago, or
Yeah,
an event I do
that's a
tomorrow,
good
3 years
point.
from now, I
That's
want
a
to look
really
at it.
good.
I don't want it to be the prices that are constantly changing in there. I want to see what I paid for the flowers 3 years ago and what I charged for that arrangement, and so that I can, kind of have that accurate information so that I can make good decisions going forward too.
Right. And that, I mean, that really gives you, I didn't think of that. That's super smart. That gives you a really good benchmark baseline. Like,
Hmm.
oh, these were my prices 3 years ago, and this is what flowers cost me 3 years ago. I need to up my game, you guys. Like, we're going to start pushing that percentage up a little bit more because, like, give yourself a raise. Why not? Like, you can do that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so true, and it's so beneficial because you can actually kind of say, okay, well, what did I do last Valentine's Day? You can create an event for every single year. Say you do a wreath making workshop every year, and you want to create an event for every one of those. You can look back. What did I do last year? How much did I order? How much am I going to order this year? Well, last year I had 7 people show up and I ordered $600 worth of flowers. And this year I'm going to have 12 people show up. So I need to order,
Twice a
maybe
yeah.
multiply that out, divide it by however many people are there, multiply it up, and then order that much. So it's really nice because there's so many ways you can use this.
Mhm.
It is very customizable.
Yeah.
It's so simple. I mean, I know it's kind of funny because people are like, oh, simple. But simple can be really good in a lot of ways because that way you can make it work for
For
your
you.
business,
Mhm.
and it's super customizable. And I wanted it that way because everybody thinks a little differently.
Yeah.
We all have kind of our standard, practice. But being able to kind of make it work for a designer who likes to do recipes when they create their proposals on the front end,
Mhm.
and be able to work for a designer who doesn't really like to do recipes, but just wants to order all their flowers for their wedding in bulk
Mhm.
in one order,
Yep.
and then know they're still within their budget, and then design it as they go. This system actually will work for both of those types of floral designers.
That's
And
awesome.
depending on your schedule and what you have going on, when I was owning my own business, if I had a last minute, if I had a wedding on a Saturday and I didn't have to be there until 3 o'clock in the afternoon to set it up, and I had somebody else come in a month before and say, hey, I'm getting married and I need 5 centerpieces and a bouquet, and I'll come pick it up that morning, I could just order all those flowers in one, bulk order and just kind of design it as I went. And
Great.
so sometimes I liked having individual recipes for my different designs, and sometimes I just needed to get an order in and then figure it out later. And so this system really will allow you to do a lot of different
That sounds a lot
types
like me because I do that too.
of
I'm a
workouts.
little bit of a hybrid. Like I
Yep.
really like to know what I'm making, what the recipe is, if I have that time. And then
Mhm.
other times you get an elopement dropped in your lap, and you're like, oh, well, we'll figure that out later. Here's what I need to let's just get the shit moving.
Yep, let's just get this on order. Your wholesaler or your growers need to know what you need to order. And then you can say, okay, well, now I've got this big order. You can actually use EveryStem to then break it out into
Mhm.
individual recipes too. So it's really nice because you don't have to do it just one way.
Right.
There's multiple ways to do it. And we do have a lot of tutorials on our EveryStem channel
You do, and they're
on
really good.
YouTube.
They are,
Do you
and they're
like those?
really good. They're helpful, and they do show you exactly what you need to know. It's not, you know, they're done. You can tell they're done by you, and it shows. So
Oh,
very
okay.
much
Yeah, we
appreciated.
tried to make them straightforward and short and sweet,
Yep.
and to the point. So,
Cool.
yeah, we've got a link to those on our website. So if anybody
Mhm.
wants to check those out and get more detail on exactly how the system works and how you can do those things, they can check that out. Um, And so we've got our flower library. I'll get back to the little preview. We've got our flower library where all our flowers are, and you can easily create a flower just by clicking on the button.
Mhm.
And you've got a little bit of information that you need to add. So let's say we're going to put some stock in here. It's really easy to add multiple flowers. So if you've never added stock in before and you need like let's say a lavender stock, I get a lot of my flowers from Austin Flower Company because they're the local wholesaler here,
Mhm.
and I think they were about 18.90. So I'm going to say $1.89 a stem. So if I'm choosing this stem option, I'm going to buy these flowers by the stem. That's what I recommend.
Mhm.
If you know how many stems are in the bunch, you're going to put the price per stem here, and then down here we're going to put how many stems are in a pack. So we're going to say there's 10 stems in a pack. And that way the system can actually show you how many extras you're going to have. If you're
Mhm.
ordering 6 for your bouquet, but you're buying 10, it will actually show you in the system that you have 4 extra. And so you can decide if you want to use those somewhere else, or
Mhm.
if you want to try to make sure that you know you have those extras and how much that's going to cost you, so that you can make good decisions about, how you can best use those flowers.
Sure. To kind of just stay within those margins. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. And then
Mhm.
we'll just click save to library, and it's going to automatically save. It's got a little save pop up. And then when you want to add the next color, if you have time and you want to add all the different colors of stock that you like to buy, you can actually just delete the color, and then you can put in light pink. Usually it's from the same vendor, so you don't have to change that. Typically, all the stock is going to be the same price. And so we can just save that one.
Mhm.
And then we could do like
I
a hot
really,
pink.
that's a great feature too, because it just lets you do all of them at once. You don't have to like individually start over on a new page, create the whole thing
Exactly.
again. You can just let it autofill the rest of it, and you just change the color. And
Yeah.
this search feature on here is incredible too. Like, if the more you describe what you have, because I know with you showed me before
Uh-huh.
that you can actually like type in color, like search by texture. Like if I wanted seeded eucalyptus, I put it in there as texture, and then I put like seeded eucalyptus, and then I put like the color, and it just adds more to what you can search for.
Exactly. So, for example, in this account that I have, I can put all my greenery. If I put all my greenery under the word greens to start, if I search for the word green, then all of my greenery is going to come up first. And
Yeah.
so anything I name as a color green will also come up. But I can now look and say, oh, what was the name of that greenery I wanted for this bouquet? You can't remember every name of every flower. And so it's nice to kind of be able to search by, color, by whatever description you put in the name of the
Hmm.
flower, it's going to search by. So if we go ahead and search for pink, anything that has pink in it is going to pop up. And I can go, oh, this bride wants pink flowers. I can't think of something off the top of my head, but I know I want this pink. Oh, yes, it was pink
Hmm.
sweet peas I want to put. And so it's really nice because you can actually use it to look for substitutes as well. Because
Yep.
you have all your pricing right down this list, and then you have all your flowers. And so you could say, okay, well, the Lysianthus was $1.89,
Hmm.
and the sweet peas are $1.89. They're a little bit different, but I'm just going to go ahead and sub them out because I know she wanted something frilly and fluffy, and it's just going to be like an accent flower.
Perfect.
So you can even use this to kind of sub to find good
Give
substitutes.
yourself a nice little guide. You don't have to work hard.
Right? Exactly. So the flower library is really easy. You can edit your flowers by clicking on the edit button off to the side. And so this is where you could change the vendor name, you could change the price, you could add more of a description. If the stems per pack quantity changed, if we were buying anemones from Cassiopeia and they were 10 stems a bunch, but now I'm going to buy them from Austin Flower Company and they're going to be 5 stems a bunch, I can easily change that here. And when I change it here in the flower library, every order that I create from now on going forward will have this information in it.
Yeah. This is like
Um,
the master list. Yeah.
exactly. This is the master list. So
Perfect.
it's really straightforward. And we do have some tutorials about how it works. But it's nice. And you can see kind of under the fever hue, for example, that's about 2/3 of the way down. We're buying that by the bunch. And
Mhm.
so it does not have how many stems are in the pack,
Right.
because typically for bunches, we're going to say it's either for greenery or for something like smilax that comes in a big box, where we don't know exactly how many stems are in a bunch. And in that point, when we order the flowers or order that greenery, we're going to do it by a fraction of a bunch. So if I
Mhm.
wanted half a bunch, I would put 0.5. If I wanted 2/3 of a bunch, so I would just adjust it that way. And we actually have a really nice little reference guide that we give to all our new members that kind of says, okay, if you're doing a tenth of a bunch, enter 0.1 as your fraction. So it makes it really simple. And once you kind of start getting used to that,
Mhm.
you just use those fractions. And so we really recommend only using the bunches if you don't know how many stems come in a bunch. So,
Yeah, which happens. There are things that they calculate by weight, or like if I know baby's breath, for instance, like sometimes it's not exactly a 10-stem bunch. So you kind of have to just go with, well, it's about this much. And you just think, well, maybe I'll use
exactly.
a tenth of it.
Yeah. And that way, when you get it in, you can tell, your freelancers, your designers, or, you can do yourself. You can say, okay, I've got 5 bouquets. I've got a bunch of greenery. I'm going to do 0.25 of a bunch in each bouquet. So I'm going to take this greenery and divide it into 5 even amounts. And
Right.
that way, instead of saying, oh, I thought it had 10 stems, and now I'm supposed to use 3 stems here, but this bunch only has three
Yeah.
stems.
Hmm.
You can divide the bunches out by the percentages, or by the fractions that you want to divide them out by, and that way you're using as much of it as possible, and you're having to be able to reduce the waste, which is really nice.
Really.
Um, and so I'll switch over to the dashboard here. And this is where there's a little profile section that's just for it just has your name and your information. You can put your phone number and the name of your business in there. And the nice thing about that is when you export all these reports and you want to send them to your vendors or share them with your designers, it'll have your business name and your phone number on it, so they know who it
It.
came from.
Yeah.
That's pretty straightforward. And then for the dashboard, it has a similar look as the library. Anytime you want to create a new event, you just come over here and click on this nice little teal button. And then it's got the search function on the right-hand side, where you can search by keywords that you can enter, or by the name of the event.
Hmm.
Uh, and then it's organized with all your upcoming events at the top, and then any events that you've done in the past down at the bottom. So it's organized chronologically. And so as you add more and more events, the search button comes up in handy, because it can make it a little bit easier to find things.
Sure.
So if we wanted to create a new event, we could just come in here and we can just put in Susie's wedding. And in here, where you can put the event description, you can put the name of the venue, the season, colors, any keywords, any notes that you want to put in there that you want to remember. So that way, if you're looking at a wedding and you have a client who says, oh, I really love that circle arch that you did, that you posted on Instagram. If you type in here, oh, I did a circle arch, then when you look back, you can search for that. And you might not remember the name of the client, but you might remember that it was a circle arch, or you might remember that it was at the Four Seasons
Right.
Hotel.
Where you remember the color, palette. Yeah.
Yeah. So those little details will come in handy like later on.
Yeah, it's super helpful. I think that's a great feature too, because I mean, like, how often do you remember, you get a new bride and they're like, oh, we have this color and this color, and they're like, well, I have something similar that I already did recipes on, so I'm going to take it from there. That's just so smart.
Exactly. Yeah. And you can actually copy your events, which I'll go over quickly.
Hmm.
But you can, if you had a bride, if you had done this wedding and you have a bride 6 months later that comes into your shop and says, I love that arch that you did, you could actually take this
Perfect.
recipe that you already created, copy it, and
Hmm.
start from there with the new client's order. So it's amazing. You don't have to start from scratch every single time.
That's a really good feature.
So I'll open one up and I'll show you kind of one that I've already got going, and we could just kind of quickly look at how it works. So all the information that you enter when you create a new event lives up here on the right-hand side. It's got
Hmm.
the name of the event and the description and the date of the event, and then it has your markup at the bottom. So A lot of designers use a 3 or a 4 times markup. I was just talking to a designer yesterday who's going from 3 to 3.5 because
Yep.
prices are going up.
You know what?
So we want to make sure that we've got a markup that works, for the business. And a lot of designers I know are even getting into like 4.25 markup. So you can change this really easily. And one of the nice things about being able to change this markup is that as you change it, your pricing will automatically change.
Yep.
So you can really look at a wedding or an event and say, if I marked it up 3 times, what would it cost me? And if I marked it up 3.5 times, what would it cost? And how much would my client have to pay? And you can really start to kind of fine tune what your markup really needs to be, which is nice. A lot of times this kind of work takes hours and hours to do.
It does, like, to figure out, like, oh, I made this much. If I bumped it up a percentage more, I could make this much more. And oh my gosh, that's so helpful.
Exactly. So it's really nice if you play with it. We actually have a sample event in the system. So when any
Yeah.
new members join,
Mhm.
there's an event in there, and you can actually play with that and look at it and kind of mess around with it. So that can be really nice because I know a lot of designers who are newer who are just kind of establishing their businesses in the last couple of years. They're really not sure what their markup should be. And so being able to change this in the system so easily and look at what would it cost, what would this wedding look like if it was a 3 times markup, what would this wedding look like if it was a 4 times markup, can
Right.
really be so useful. So that's kind of the general, information that you enter. Um, and then off to the left are all the functions of the system. So it's got a save button. It will automatically save every few seconds. You can export your orders. So obviously you can share that with your designers and your freelancers and your vendors very easily. You can email the orders over to your vendors. And the orders are divided out by vendor
That's
automatically for you. So you don't have to do that yourself. I was talking to one designer the other day and she said, it takes me like a half an hour just to divide out my orders by vendor so that my designers know what they're getting in. And I said, oh, this will do that for you.
It will.
The half an hour that you have back in your life
Yeah.
every week that you don't have to worry about. And then, so we've got some functionality up here. This is, how you can adjust the layout of the system. And then we've got the pages of the order. So right now we're on the summary page. And this is basically rolling up all the orders for all the other pages. So we have a personal page right now that includes a boutonniere, 2 boutonnieres for the attendants, poses for the moms, and boutonnieres for the dads for this wedding. And then we've got an arbor design, we've got aisle markers, some arrangements for the back of the aisle, and a welcome sign under the ceremony. And then for the reception, we're going to do a few centerpieces, an entry install on the staircase, and some cake flowers. So these columns are all easy to adjust. So if you come in and you start with a new layout, you can click on this column and you can change it to whatever you want to name it. So if we decide that we're going to have a Sunday brunch and we need to make some centerpieces for that, we can come in here and put in Sunday brunch centerpieces because they decided they wanted to add that. And then what we could do is actually change the name of this page. Right now you can see it's called Other. It's just an extra page. So what you can do is edit the page and we could call this page Sunday brunch. And so now we've just gone ahead and added a whole new page that we can then add more recipes to. So it's very easy to change the names of these pages, and it's very easy to change the names of the actual columns which represent each design. So if instead of a corner design on an arbor, we wanted to make this like a partial arch, they switched from a square arbor with their rental company to a rounded arch, and we just want to make sure that we're clear on that. When we go ahead and change that, it changes the name. So it's really easy to adjust this. And once you've kind of laid it out the way you like it, you can actually turn it into a template and then copy it over and over again. So you can have the markup that you use, kind of the layout of the personals and ceremonies that you use. And it's nice because you don't have to start from scratch every time.
That's a good feature.
I know a few designers that actually have created a little template for every venue that they work at.
Oh,
So if
gross.
they work at, like, there's one here in Austin that's called the Allen House, and they
That's
have,
super smart.
yeah, they have a beautiful bay window at this venue, and they always put well, I shouldn't say always, but a lot of times they put the
Mhm.
cake in that window, and we often do some sort of little installation around the cake. And so not a lot of the other venues in Austin have a bay window. And so for the Allen House, if I create a layout for the reception and it has bay window already in there and it has cake already in there, then I don't have to keep adding that every time.
Mhm.
And if, you have a certain, certain venues have different attributes, there's one here called Prospect House that has this really beautiful white square arbor, and pretty much everybody's going to do something at that arbor.
Yeah.
You can have that set
Mhm.
up already. So that template,
I'm actually
creating template,
writing that down. That's a really good tip because I
yeah,
didn't think of that. Like you could
yeah,
just. I do a lot of the same venues all the time, so that's
yep,
smart.
yeah, it's so great, and it works really well because you can create templates for different things. So if you're the kind of florist that does, I used to do a lot of corporate events, which I know
Mhm.
they're not happening right now, but I'm sure they'll start to come back soon. Some of the From some of the designers I freelance with have been saying that corporate's kind of starting to pick back up a little bit. So you could have a template for like a corporate speaking engagement, and we're here in Austin with the University of Texas, so I used to do a lot of things where there was always a podium and 50 centerpieces,
Right?
so I could create a
You
template.
know the standard drill and just change it accordingly.
Exactly. So that's kind of nice. Um, And then let's see here. And so once you've got it laid out the way you want it, you can start adding flowers in. By clicking this little button, you can add flowers. And so you can search for a flower at the top. You can search by color. You can
Mhm.
search by flower variety. And it will show you all the flowers you can add to the event. Um, and so, if I wanted to add some hot pink stock to this, I could just click add all. And what that will do is it will add it to every single page that's in the event. If I just click add, it will add it only to the one page that I'm working on. And
Great.
that's really nice because if you have a bridal bouquet with
Mhm.
really special flowers, like say the bride wants Phalaenopsis orchids in her bouquet, but you're not putting them in the ceremony or the reception,
Okay.
you can just add it to the personals page and it will not add it to the ceremony or reception page. So
That's
it's
perfect.
kind of nice. If you do click add all and you want to take them off some of the pages later, you can always easily edit. So let's say we add this here and we scroll down to the bottom. It's going to show us that we've added our stock, hot pink stock.
Mhm.
But say I change my mind. Oh, this bride does not want stock. I don't need it anymore. I can come in here and I can just remove it from that page
Yep.
and it'll be gone completely. And if I want to remove it from the entire order, I can go to my summary page and I can scroll down and I can click here
Take
and
it
I
off.
can remove it from the entire order. And
Mhm.
so if I decide I don't need it anymore, it'll be gone. And then if I go over to like Sunday brunch, for example, you'll see that that flower isn't there anymore. The hot pink stock has been removed. So it's nice because each working page you can remove individually. If you want to remove it from the whole event, you can remove it from that summary page. So those little features like that are so nice because as florists, sometimes we add something and then later on we're like, oh, wait, I don't need that flower after
Right.
all.
Well,
So,
and you're not passing out phalaenopsis at the whole event. It's just like
exactly.
here.
Yeah. Or, clients change their minds and, this wedding could go from pink and white to blue and white like that, like we have venues changing. We have lots
Right.
of things kind of always, things, especially now with postponements and, you know, wedding seasons are completely changing. We had weddings that were going to happen in the fall that were happening in the spring, now happening in the fall, and their whole color palette changed. So you want to be able to adjust those flowers, as you go. And then once you've got, I'll show you an example here on the ceremony page. Let's say we're starting with this arch design. We're going to go down the side and add the flowers that we want to add. We can turn on a labor fee by just clicking this button. So if you include your labor fee in the price of the design, you can put that in here. And then this little line called the supplies at retail value. This is a line where you can add your money for your chicken wire, your supplies, your tape, your containers, anything like that can go in here. Anything that's not a flower that you want to allocate some cost to can go in here, and that will take off the top so that a lot of times we design and we're like, oh, we need all these flowers, and we forget to include the cost
Right.
of all
And
the
you don't really
mechanics.
think about the hard goods that are going into it. They're not freebies, you guys. You gotta charge.
Exactly. So a lot of times what I tend to do is I come down to this retail supplies line and I fill that in first.
That's
Because I
smart.
want to think about from bottom up, I
Mhm.
want to think about, okay, do I need a container? Do I need
Mhm.
chicken wire? Do I need, um, tape? Do I need moss? What do I need that's going to fill this out? Am I
Yep.
doing an arch that I'm, including in the price? So there's a place for that, which is really nice. And then what you can do is you can go two different ways. You can start by putting your quoted price in here. So if
Yep.
I already charged my client $550, I told them that that's what they needed to pay. I can put that in here, and then I can add my flowers as I go and see how much that's going to cost. Or I can start with how much I think I want to put in each design. So I can start with my ideal recipe, and then the system will actually tell me, adding up the retail value, how much
You should be charging.
I should be charging.
I love that because I'm the type of designer that works that way. I quote the price and then I go fill in. So
Yeah.
that was one of my main. Yes, I will definitely sign up because that was like the other ones. You can't really work backwards. You have to just start from scratch and when it comes out, and you have to kind of hope that it matches what you've already quoted. This way, you can adjust accordingly to what you already quoted them, and I think that's just like that's perfect.
Exactly. Because a lot of designers really have, you have an idea of what you're charging, for most things. Your bridesmaids bouquets, okay, are they 125 a piece? Give or take a little bit, depending on if they want to add garden roses or peonies. So that that's going to be the price. And if you're doing something that's really unique or custom, that's when you can start from the bottom up and figure out that recipe that you think you'd like to build, and then see how much you need to charge for it. Or
Yep.
if you're just learning a lot more about pricing, if you're not the kind of person who has done a lot of recipes where you just kind of freeform design, this is a great way to kind of learn. And I left one blank here as an example. So we've got our 10 centerpieces, and I've got this one entry install that I kind of left blank here because I wanted to just do an example,
Mhm.
and the cake. So for the entry install, let's say that we want to do $1,000. We charged our client $1,000, and that's we can't go over that. That's what
Right.
our retail price has to be. And so we can put in, let's say we're going to do, a few little low trays with some chicken wire in them, maybe a bucket, and we're going to hide that and kind of build something up on this staircase. So let's say we need $30 at retail, $15 at wholesale. I usually mark up my hard goods times two.
Yep.
Uh,
Pretty standard.
and we're going to allocate that right there. So now you can see that I'm only allowed $970 left. The difference down here at the bottom is what I can spend at retail to reach my total quoted price. So it's already doing the math for me. I've got my 30% labor fee toggled on. If you like to add a labor fee separately, you can just turn that off. And you can turn it off for all of them at the same time. If you want to, you can just click up here in the edit labor fee button, disable, and close it. So it's really easy to kind of customize that as well. We can do that and turn them back on. So it's really up to each designer how they charge their labor fee, but we wanted to make it customizable. And then
That's
what we could
awesome.
do is we could just start filling in. So we could say we want 20 sedum, and we want 20 stems of honeysuckle. And you can see as I start filling that in that now this number is getting lower. I've only got $729 left
Mhm.
at retail. So I can just keep building. I'm just going to put 20s in here for now. I know we're not going to do 20 of everything in all our designs, but this will just get us closer to our amount. And
Yeah.
so I have $158 left that I can spend. It's telling me if I was to do this exact recipe that I just filled in, that my retail price would be $841, and I charged my client $1,000. So I can add some more flowers. So you can easily just go back up and say, I want to do 10 more zinnias, and add it as you go. And now when I go down, I've still got a little bit left. So, as you kind of build the recipe up to your total quoted price, okay, now we've gotten to the point where our system is telling us that our retail is 1,014, but we charged 1,000. So now it's changed to a different color and it's gone negative. It's telling us, hey, you're over your budget now. So now we got to go back a little bit. Maybe we'll do 15 of these instead of 20. And so now we've got a $37 difference. So we're really close. The retail on the system is telling us $962. We're charging $1,000. If this wedding was 3 months from now or a year from now, I would probably be okay with that $37 difference because prices change. I could always add a few more flowers later. I would be fine with that. If you want to get really close down to the money, you can get as close as you possibly can, down to the penny. So that's how you can do kind of the price, starting with your retail price and working your way backwards. And like for the cake, for example, if we wanted to do something where we wanted to start with the recipe. So let's just say that she wants, 3 zinnias on her cake. She wants it to be real simple and like a few little foxglove blooms. We're just going to put one there. So it's really small and simple. It's $6.76 at cost. And it's $26. I don't really need to put anything in there for supplies. So I might charge her $30 for that.
And that's perfect.
And so the system just told me that I need to charge no less than $26.36 to hit my margin. I'm going to go ahead and round it up to 30 because I think round numbers are just really nice and clean. I don't want to give my client a $27 fee. So that's really the way you can use it, starting with your recipe or starting with the price that you're charging your client. And it works both ways. And it's really nice. And once you've got it all sorted out, you can actually come up here and click on your profit summary. So let's say we've got all our recipes built. We're looking at our difference in price and everything looks pretty good. We don't have any negatives here. We'll click on this really awesome profit summary button and it will show us that the extended cost, so that's how much money we're spending in flowers for our recipes. It's going to show us our extras cost. And that's the difference between how many we want to buy for our recipes and how many the wholesaler is actually going to charge us for. So if I've ordered 6 ranunculus for a bouquet, but I need to buy 10, the cost of those 4 extras is going to show up right here. And then it's going to show us the total of those 2 combined. So your profit margin on the cost of your flowers right now is 74%. That includes those extras. So you could actually go to the wedding and use those extras and still make a 74% margin. So that's really nice because we always have a few things that need to be fluffed and a few things that break.
And
So
it's nice to give yourself that wiggle room if you have enough in there. So I love that little box that pops up. That's a really good,
It's awesome. And knowing that I've got a 74% profit margin right here, I do have a little bit of wiggle room. That $1,000 entry install, I still have a $37 allotment. So I could definitely buy a few more flowers. My profit margin might go down a little bit, but if you're at a 70% profit margin, you are
pretty good. That's doing good. Yeah.
So that's kind of the general idea of how it works, how you can use it. It's really straightforward. We've got lots of tutorials on our website, but I'll show you really quickly just how it would be if you wanted to export and what it looks like when you kind of look at it as a printed out version so that your designers can look at it.
Well, not only your designers, here's what I get a lot of planners that want to know what's going to be where and where, like what they have ordered. And this would, again, tie into the specific venues. If you work with a planner at a specific venue, you can just give them a list without having dollar cost on it, which is like, they don't need to know that. They don't need to see all that. And like in workers too, if you are hiring freelancers and, if you're a little bit more like, I don't really want to share my pricing, it's really not any of their business, you can definitely turn that off.
That's so smart. Yeah, that's really smart. I didn't even think about that yet. And it's amazing because every time I talk to someone, they
You
literally
are
bring up
genius.
some amazing thing that they can do with this that I haven't even thought of. And so a lot of the testers and members are just constantly coming up with awesome ideas on how this works and sharing it with a wedding planner I'd never even thought of before. So that's amazing.
Mhm.
So when you print it out as a PDF or you export it as a PDF, you've got your summary page at the top, and then it goes down, and it's going to show you each page individually. So, for example, with this event, we've got our personal flowers, our groom's boutonnieres, we've got our boutonnieres for the attendants, our mom's posies, and our dad's boutonnieres. And so the number on the left-hand side, for example, under the attendance boutonnieres, we're going to do 4 of those. That's what that number is right after the description. That's how many we're going to make. We're going to have 1 stem of sedum in each, and we're going to need 4 stems total. So it's going to do that math for you. And so you can have designers or you can have your assistant come in and pull all these flowers and get them ready for you. And then when you get into design in the studio, everything's ready to go. So this is really nice because you can actually use it to make production easier as well.
Yeah, it's a good pull list. I mean, if you give somebody that list, they know what to do with it. That's wonderful.
Ceremony.
Oh, did our Wi-Fi freeze?
All these flowers and put them in 1 or 2 buckets that's labeled arch. And then that way, a lot of us tend to have the like draw to kind of pull flowers that you don't really need to use. You know, every page that you create in your layout is going to actually create a page on the printout too, so that you have it laid out. Like, for example, we had our little Sunday brunch. We hadn't added any flowers to that yet, but if we wanted to add flowers to that, it would show up right here. So that's how that one works. And then for the vendor version, I'll show you how that works. And so right now for this order, I have 2 growers that I'm going to buy from, Clara Joyce and Winkleman. And so I can go ahead and click on one. So if I need to order from Clara Joyce a month in advance, but I need to order from Winkleman only 2 weeks in advance, I could actually print these out at different times if I want to.
Sure.
But a lot of times we want to just get it all, exported at the same time. We can click on both of them by just highlighting them both. It's going to actually show me a list of all the flowers I'm ordering from Clara Joyce. And on a separate tab, it's going to show me all the flowers I'm ordering from Winkleman. So I can send these individually to my growers or my wholesalers and just show them exactly what they need to know. I'm going to order Feather Celosia. I need it to be hot pink. I'm buying it by the stem, and I need 110 stems. And I'm expected to pay $1.20 per stem. If it's different, let me know. And that's one of the things about this that's so nice is that it's broken out by vendor. So when you're getting your flowers in and you're processing them, I've noticed that a lot of designers have those flower lists broken out, or just like one big long list. They're not broken out by vendor. And I've seen a lot of mistakes happen because you're not checking it off. Yeah. They're like, oh, I did one wedding a long time ago with some friends, and they ordered Smilax, but they never got it. And because it was the list of flowers was like 3 pages long.
Yeah, they did.
And we were highlighting, and none of us saw it. And then when we got to the wedding, they had no Smilax. And so this way, if it's broken out by vendor, they figured it out. We did the last minute florist thing that we all do, and we foraged and we borrowed and we made it work. But, it was stressful for that day. It was a little bit more stressful than it needed to be.
Well, thank you so much for that tour. That was really helpful. And I hope that people can see how useful this would be. If you don't have a stem counter, if you're not stem counting, you really should be. It's really important, you guys. Like knowing your numbers, knowing your margins, sticking to those, making yourself profitable, and so you can do more cool stuff. Like that's kind of the end game here.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it's really important. And I love talking about flowers and profitability. So if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me. And
where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. They can find me. You can email me at luann@everystem.com. You can find us on the internet at everystem.com. And we're on Instagram at everystem_. And we're also going to be doing a referral program. So for anyone that wants to join, they're going to be able to get a free month. They can sign up with the referral program using Gina's email. It's gina@fromthegroundup.com. And if you guys sign up with that, you'll get a free month. If you join monthly, it's $24.99 a month, and you'll get your second month free. And if you join for the annual membership, it's $249.99 for the whole year. So basically, you're paying for 10 months. If you use Gina's email as the referral code, you'll get 13 months for the price of 10. So you get an extra month added on there.
Yay! So discounts are amazing, and it's really, honestly, like, it's a really good value. You guys, I'm really enjoying using it, so I hope you will too. And again, reach out if you have any questions, and we will talk to Luann soon. Check in and follow her on Instagram for sure. She has a really great Instagram. I love reading her posts. So.
Oh, thank you so much. I try to put some fun stuff on there and some valuable stuff on there.
Right.
So it's a good mix.
Great.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Gina. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy using EveryStem too.
Yes, I do. I'm working at it. It's becoming part of my process, so it's right in.
Yay!
Thank you for tuning in to From the Ground Up Floral podcast. I do apologize for the glitchy sound on this audio recording. It was something to do with Google Meet and the connection. So in the future, I will be looking for another platform to record on. And editing this one was a little bit hard. So thank you for staying tuned and giving me the grace and patience with this episode. I look forward to chatting with you soon. If you have any comments, fromthegroundupfloral.media is where you can find us online. And you can find the show notes, the blog that goes with this audio, and any links that we discussed. Thanks. See you next time, floral friends.